So it's become a well-known fact in today's age that video games can be kind of fun, and it's understandable that so many people are wanting to join the hobby and the gaming community. So I decided to take it upon myself to give the people new to gaming an introductory guide to the world of ones and O's. Cause I myself am a gamer, and while I may not be a pro, I think I have a pretty good understanding of the basics. Most of this information can be learned through experience, but if you want a quick shortcut head start, this is for you. So whether you're a mother trying to bond with her children, or a grade schooler trying to fit in with the cool kids, here is an introductory guide to the basics of gaming. So in the gaming community, we use a lot of unique vocabulary, as you will notice immediately when you tap into forums or chats. In gaming, we use a lot of acronyms because they're fast to say, which really comes in handy when you're in the heat of a battle between an enemy team. OP means overpowered. We usually say this to label a weapon or ability that we see as having too much competitive advantage in relation to other weapons or abilities. For example, a rifle that does 50 damage in a game where all the other rifles do 25 damage would be deemed as OP. Speaking of damage, some people do say health, but a common synonym for it is HP, which stands for health points. So if you're in critical condition, you should probably tell your teammate you got low HP. Well, that sounds a lot like HP. XP has nothing to do with health. It stands for experience points, which are usually gathered after completing challenges or tasks, and usually, after you reach a certain amount, you level up. If you notice someone's character isn't moving and they're not talking, they're probably AFK, away from keyboard. Even though it has keyboard in the name, it does not only apply to PC gaming. It is also used in console communication. So if you need to take a mean dookie, you should probably tell your teammate you're going to be AFK for a while. An NPC is a non-playable character, so a character you can't control, like a merchant or someone who gives you quests, or people who are literally just there. FPS can actually have two meanings, but you can usually tell which one they're talking about based on the context. There's first-person shooter and frames per second. First-person shooter is a type of shooting game, while frames per second is, well, frames per second. It's basically how smooth your game feels. Gamers take this very seriously. The HUD is the layer on top of your gameplay that shows you additional information like health, a map, and ammunition. A mod, which is short for modification, is downloadable software that can be added on top of the base game. So like, there is a regular game, right? But mods are things added, like you can get a mod that makes it so you can fly, or you get skins, modifications to the game. Not to be confused with DLC, which is downloadable content. DLC is content made by the publishers that adds to the game itself. So DLC is like a piece of hair to the game, and mods are like clothing. While there is a lot of toxicity that comes with competitive gaming, there is that one occasional match where everyone seems to be respectful and just want to have fun. One way you may receive good sportsmanship, or exert it yourself, is by saying GG after a match, which means good game. Whether you won or lost, saying GG is a good way of mentioning that your opponent played well, and even if they didn't, it's nice to receive one after a devastating loss. In the gaming community, or maybe just for me, it's seen as a rare act of kindness. Some vocabulary terms that are not acronyms are buff and nerf. This applies to when a weapon or an ability is improved or worsened. For example, when a sword that did 77 HP does 100 HP after the new update, it has been buffed, because when you're buff, you're very strong. Get it? And when things are nerfed, they are worsened. So an attack that did 25 HP does 10 HP after the new update, similar to how nerf bullets don't hurt as much as real bullets. Lag is when the game feels jittery or there's a delay in your actions, from when you press the button to when your character moves. Lag is most commonly caused by excessive ping, which is the time it takes for the action to be completed. When it comes to ping, the lower the better. There are many types of video games. For example, RPG, which stands for role-playing game, in which players play the role of a character. Some famous examples of RPGs are Fallout, Dark Souls, and Final Fantasy. Similarly, MMORPGs are RPGs but massively multiplayer. Some examples are World of Warcraft and RuneScape. There's platformers, which is where you play on platforms, like Super Mario, Mega Man, Spelunky, and Hollow Knight. I already briefly talked about first-person shooters, but they're essentially shooting games that are in the first-person point of view. This includes games like Call of Duty, Halo, and Doom. There's open world games, which give you an open world to explore, like Grand Theft Auto, Breath of the Wild, and Minecraft. Fighting games are games that focus on combat but between two players only, like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and Jump Force. MOBAs are multiplayer online battle arenas, in which you are literally battling online with multiple players in an arena. For example, Smite, League of Legends, and Dota 2. Battle Royales are games where you're dropped on a map and fight to be the last one standing. The obvious examples being Fortnite, Apex Legends, and PUBG. While every game has different controls to a certain extent, I've played enough games to know that there's a lot of repetition. For example, for most games, the command for jumping is X for PlayStation, A for Xbox, and spacebar for PC. To interact with something, it's usually square on PlayStation, X on Xbox, and E on a keyboard. To crouch, it's usually circle on PlayStation, B on Xbox, or C or control on PC. For movement, on both controllers it can be the joysticks, but for PC, it is usually the WASD keys, but it is interchangeable with the arrow keys if you prefer. However, if you are playing on a 2D game on controller, the general rule of thumb is to use the D-pad because it's easier to control. The good thing about controls is that they can be changed and fit to your liking. You can usually do this by going to the settings of the game, by pressing options on either of the controllers, or escape on PC. In gaming, there are a few system specifications gamers hold to more of an importance than others. If you're into computers and stuff, you probably know all of this already. But the first component gamers think is very important is the storage, also known as a hard drive. Since video games can often be a large file size, gamers need a lot of storage space. This isn't a very big problem now though, since the current gen PS5 has 825 gigabytes and the Xbox Series X has 802 gigabytes of storage. And for PCs, large storage is very attainable. Another important part for gamers is the memory, otherwise known as RAM. This is what allows you to do things, like opening tabs in your browser or opening a game. This is important if you want to have your game on while on a chat or listening to music, or you just want to do things fast. This also isn't a problem in our current day. The graphics card is also held to a big importance because, well, gamers love good graphics. It basically just renders the game to show on your screen, and these are the ones that make it look good. That's why there's so much hype around the RTX. The CPU works very closely with the graphics card. It basically updates everything super fast in reaction to what you did. So a chest opening, that's the CPU working. An NPC yelling at you for walking into them, that's the CPU working. It basically just signals that something in the screen should change and then hands it over to the graphics card so it can render it. The CPU is that tiny square sticker you get on your laptop or computer. The big players in the industry are Intel and AMD. There are a lot of days gamers look forward to. For example, at the beginning of December each year, the Game Awards are hosted, nominating video games for various categories such as Best Art Direction, Best Community Support, and of course, Game of the Year. There is also the renowned E3, in which developers and publishers present their upcoming productions. Nintendo is also doing Nintendo Direct, in which they do basically E3, but only for Nintendo. PlayStation is doing this as well. And that's basically it for my beginner's guide to gaming. If you're a gamer yourself and would like to add something, comment down below. Thank you for watching and have a great day.